The neighborhood was peaceful that morning. Soft sunlight fell on the houses, making the roofs glow a gentle gold. Trees moved slowly in the light wind, and the street looked calm and tidy, like it always did. Nothing seemed wrong. Nothing looked unusual. It felt like a normal day, maybe even a little too perfect. Alex, who had lived in the HOA community for 5 years, was standing on his porch with a cup of tea in his hand. He loved mornings like this. He liked the sound of birds sitting on the wires, the smell of fresh grass, and the quiet that made the whole place feel safe. To him, this HOA neighborhood was more than just a group of houses. It was a small world where people respected each other, followed rules, and tried to live peacefully. But every world has a disturbance. Every calm place has one person who breaks the peace. And in this neighborhood, that person was Karen. Karen lived 3 houses down from Alex. If someone dropped a tissue or parked their car slightly crooked, somehow Karen always knew. She watched everything, complained about everything, and argued with everyone. But the strange thing about Karen was this: she didn't think she was difficult. She thought she was the only one who cared about the neighborhood properly. According to her, everyone else was too relaxed, too lazy, or too careless. Alex took another sip of tea and looked down the street. He didn't see Karen yet, but he already felt her presence. He remembered the last time he spoke to her. It was about something so small, yet she had made it so dramatic. He had been taking out his trash a little late, almost 9:30 p.m., because he was busy helping his daughter with homework. Karen walked by, froze, and stared at the trash bin like it was a crime scene. "Trash should be out before 9, she said sharply, like a police officer giving a warning. Alex had nodded politely. "Sorry, I was just..." "No excuses," Karen cut him off. "Rules are rules." He didn't argue. Nobody argued with Karen. It was much easier to say okay and move on. Everyone in the neighborhood had their own Karen story. Some were funny, some annoying, and some almost unbelievable. But no matter the story, they all had one thing in common: Karen was always angry about something. Still, even Karen had limits. Or at least, Alex thought she did. He placed his empty cup on the small table beside him and stretched his arms. A few neighbors walked by: Mr. Cooper, who went for a jog every morning, and Mrs. Patel, who swept her porch like it was a personal ritual. Everyone greeted Alex with a smile and a friendly wave. The community was well connected, almost like a big family. A family, with one very loud troublemaker. Around 9 a.m., Alex noticed a mail truck stop in front of Karen's house. For a moment, everything was quiet again. The mailman got out, put a few envelopes and a white letter into the box, then drove away. Nothing unusual. But Alex had a strange feeling. He couldn't explain it, but something inside him whispered, "That letter is going to cause trouble." He shook his head and laughed softly at himself. "You're overthinking," he told himself. But he wasn't. Inside her house, Karen was already awake and pacing. She had been upset since morning because a neighbor's dog barked once too loudly. She believed the dog barked on purpose, just to annoy her. She believed the HOA should punish the owner because noise violations are serious. She had even written a long complaint email to the HOA board, but before sending it, she decided to check her mailbox. The moment she stepped outside, Alex saw her. He sighed quietly. Karen walked with quick, angry steps as if the ground had done something wrong. Her eyebrows were tight, and her mouth was in a deep frown. She opened the mailbox, pulled out the letters, and flipped through them. Bills. Ads. A community newsletter. Then she stopped. Her eyes locked on the white envelope. The one Alex had noticed earlier. Her face changed immediately. Her grip tightened. Her jaw clenched. Alex didn't have to hear the words to know she was upset. Karen had received an HOA notice. He watched her tear the envelope open right there on the street. She didn't wait to go inside. She read it fast, and Alex saw her expression go from confusion, to anger, to full rage. He tried not to stare, but she was hard to ignore. Anyone would stare. For a moment, Karen stood completely still. The calm neighborhood felt even quieter. Alex felt a small chill, like the air suddenly dropped a degree. And then, Karen exploded. She threw her hands up, shouting at the paper, shouting at the sky, shouting at nothing and everything. "This is harassment," she yelled. "They're targeting me again." Several neighbors peeked outside. Some pretended to be checking their plants. Others stood behind curtains. A few even grabbed their phones because they knew something dramatic was about to happen. When Karen got angry, it was never small. It was always a performance. Alex sighed and walked inside his house. He didn't want to get pulled into her drama. He closed the door and tried to focus on his work. But Karen's voice was so loud he could still hear her through the walls. An hour later, Alex went to his driveway to get something from his car. Karen was still outside, pacing back and forth, talking loudly on the phone. She waved the HOA letter in her hair like a flag. "I'm not fixing anything. My bushes are fine. This neighborhood is out to get me," she shouted. Alex looked over the fence. Her bushes were not fine. They had grown so wild they covered half the sidewalk. People had been walking around them for months. But Karen believed she was the only correct person in the world. He closed his trunk and went back inside. He didn't want any part of her conversation. But as the day went on, the energy in the neighborhood changed. The peaceful morning vibe slowly disappeared. People whispered to each other about Karen's meltdown. They shared screenshots of her angry messages on the HOA website. They talked about the complaint she was threatening to file. The whole neighborhood felt a strange tension, like something big was coming. Nobody knew what it would be, but everyone felt it. And Karen, she was getting angrier by the minute. By noon, she had slammed her door 6 times, thrown a garden tool into her yard, and yelled at 2 people who simply walked past her house. The HOA notice had pushed her into a storm. A storm that was growing stronger. Alex sat on his couch, shaking his head. "She's going to cause a problem," he muttered. He was right. Because the disaster wasn't far. The calm of the neighborhood was about to be destroyed completely. Not by weather. Not by animals. Not by crime. But by one angry woman, and one HOA gate she would soon crash through with full force. And nobody, not even Karen, realized how bad it was going to get. The sun was higher now, but the neighborhood didn't feel warm anymore. Something invisible, something sharp, hung in the air. It wasn't heat. It was tension. The kind of tension people feel right before a storm hits, before the sky cracks open and everything turns chaotic. And at the center of this coming storm, stood Karen. She sat inside her living room with the HOA letter in her hand, staring at it like it was her worst enemy. She had read it more than 10 times, and each time she repeated the same words loudly to herself, as if saying them out loud would somehow change reality. Fix your overgrown bushes within 7 days. Such a simple request. So harmless. But to Karen, this one line felt like a personal attack, a deep insult. Her face turned red. Her breathing got louder. She stomped around the room, talking to walls, talking to herself, talking to anyone who wasn't actually there. "No one else gets letters. Only me," she muttered angrily. "Those bushes are not overgrown. They're natural. They're beautiful. The HOA wants to control me. They hate me because I tell the truth." She dropped the paper on the table so hard it made a sound like a slap. Outside, 2 teenagers walked past her house, laughing about something harmless, maybe a video, maybe a joke. But Karen heard them, and her mind twisted the sound. "They're laughing at me," she shouted. No, they weren't. They weren't even looking her way. But once Karen decided something, the world inside her head turned it into absolute truth. She rushed to her front window and watched them walk away. Her breaths became short, angry breaths. She felt something heavy growing inside her chest. Anger always lived there, but today it felt bigger, like it wanted to burst out. Karen stormed into the kitchen, grabbed her phone, and started dialing one number after another. First, she called the HOA office. The receptionist answered with her usual calm voice. "Hello, HOA office. How may I help you?" Karen didn't say hello back. She started shouting immediately. "You people have no respect. You send me stupid letters. My bushes are perfect. Why are you targeting me? Why don't you warn that man with the brown mailbox? Or the lady whose flowers smell too strong? Why only me?" The receptionist had heard Karen's voice many times before. She knew this tone. She knew this anger. She kept her voice steady. "Ma'am, this is a standard notice." Several homeowners received. Karen slammed the call button before the sentence even finished. "Liars," she whispered. She paced the kitchen again, walking in sharp, quick lines like a trapped animal. Her thoughts raced faster than her footsteps. Everyone is against me. They want to punish me. They want to force me to follow their silly rules. They don't understand me. They never have. She grabbed her keys as if she suddenly needed to run somewhere, except she didn't leave. She simply held them tightly in her fist, as if she was preparing for a fight. Then she called her sister. Her sister answered, calm and sleepy. "Karen? It's early. What happened?" Karen didn't even breathe before starting. "They're attacking me again. The HOA sent me a letter. They say my bushes are overgrown. They say I have to fix them. Me. Only me. Nobody else." Her sister sighed. This wasn't new. "Karen, maybe the bushes really need trimming." "No." Karen yelled. "Don't take their side. Why is everyone against me today?" Her sister tried talking gently. "Karen, sometimes you overreact." "Maybe." But Karen ended the call before she could finish. She threw her phone on the couch and stood still for a moment. Her eyes looked wild, reflecting the sunlight in an uneasy way. She wasn't listening to anyone anymore, not the HOA, not her sister, not logic. She was listening only to her own anger. Outside, a few neighbors peeked through their windows. They had heard yelling. They recognized that voice immediately. Some shook their heads. Some rolled their eyes. A few called their friends to share what was happening. "Karen is angry again," they whispered. Karen stepped outside and looked at her bushes. To her, they looked fine and green, full, natural. To everyone else, they looked like a jungle that had started a small war with the sidewalk. She touched the leaves with a dramatic sigh, as if she were touching the wound of a friend. "You're beautiful," she whispered to the plant. "They just don't appreciate natural growth." Then she spoke louder, making sure anyone nearby could hear. "They're trying to control everything. Even plants. What kind of neighborhood is this? A prison?" She spoke to the air, but it was meant for the neighbors. Several heard her. No one replied. Karen's anger grew even more. She marched back inside, grabbed a stack of papers, and sat down at her kitchen table. She wrote a long complaint letter, 4 pages. She used big words she didn't fully understand. Words like harassment, psychological stress, and environmental discrimination. But she didn't stop there. After the letter, she made a long list of everyone she wanted the HOA to punish instead of her. The list included the man who put his trash bin out too early, the woman with the too pink front door, a child who chalk drew butterflies on the sidewalk, a neighbor who whistled loudly in the mornings, and, of course, Alex. She didn't know why she put his name on the list. He had never bothered her. But she remembered seeing him look her way earlier. To her, a simple glance felt like a judgment. Suspicious, she wrote next to his name. Inside her head, everything made sense. Outside her head, nothing did. After writing for nearly 2 hours, Karen felt shaky and restless. She stood up suddenly and walked around her house, opening and closing doors for no reason. Her thoughts grew louder. I'm not the problem. The neighborhood is the problem. The rules are the problem. The HOA is the problem. Then her thoughts turned darker. Maybe they need a lesson. Maybe I should show them they can't control me. Maybe I should do something big. Her eyes drifted toward the window. Toward the gate. The large, metal HOA entrance gate. A gate she drove through every day. A gate she secretly hated because it symbolized rules she didn't want to follow. A gate that moved too slowly for her impatient temper. She muttered softly. That gate, that stupid gate, always in my way. She walked to her car, opened the driver's door, and sat inside. She didn't start the engine yet. She simply placed her hands on the steering wheel and stared through the windshield, thinking, planning, imagining. Her anger kept whispering to her. They sent you a letter. They don't respect you. You must prove you're not afraid. Do something they'll never forget. Her breathing slowed. Her hands tightened. Her foot tapped the floor lightly, as if preparing for movement. Across the street, Alex glanced out his window and saw her inside her car. Her posture looked stiff. Her face looked tense. Please don't do anything crazy, he whispered to himself. But Karen wasn't listening to anyone. Not today. Her anger had taken her somewhere dangerous. Somewhere unpredictable. Somewhere she couldn't come back from easily. And the HOA gate, the one she blamed for everything she felt, was about to become her target. The calm was gone. The warning signs were here. The storm was ready. And Karen was seconds away from making a choice that would change the entire neighborhood. The afternoon sun hung in the sky like a bright, silent witness. The neighborhood looked peaceful again, almost pretending nothing unusual had happened in the morning. But behind that calm surface, something dangerous was building, something that no one could see coming. Inside her car, Karen sat stiff and furious. The steering wheel felt hot under her hands, but she didn't let go. Her knuckles turned white from how tightly she gripped it. Her breath came out in short, angry bursts, fogging the inside of the windshield. She wasn't moving, but her mind was racing. Each thought made her angrier. They think they can tell me what to do. They think I'm afraid. I'll show them I'm not. No one controls Karen. For a moment, she closed her eyes. She remembered the HOA board members' faces, calm, strict, emotionless. She imagined them laughing at her. She imagined them celebrating when they mailed the warning letter. Her imagination twisted the world into something that wasn't real, but to Karen, it felt real. Her anger turned into a story inside her head, a story where she was the victim, and everyone else was plotting against her. Outside, the street was quiet. A bird landed on a fence. A neighbor watered his plants. Everything looked normal. But something strange happened inside Karen. Her breathing slowed. Her anger didn't fade, but it changed. It didn't feel wild anymore. It felt focused, sharp, like the point of a needle. She put the key in the ignition. For one long second, she didn't turn it. She just sat there, staring straight ahead at the quiet street. Then, vroom! The engine came alive. The sound was louder than usual. Almost violent. Across the street, Alex flinched. He looked out through his blinds and saw her car vibrating slightly from the force of the engine. Oh no, she's actually going somewhere, he whispered. He thought she might drive to the store, or to a friend's house, or maybe to the HOA office to shout at someone in person. But Karen had a different destination. She shifted the gear into reverse, backed out too fast, and almost hit her mailbox. She didn't stop to check. She didn't slow down. She didn't look around. She slammed the gear into drive. And then, like a rocket taking off, she shot forward. The car sped down the road, tires squealing, engine growling like something angry was trapped inside it. Several neighbors looked up, startled. Mrs. Patel dropped her broom. A man walking his dog stepped aside quickly. "Where is she going so fast?" someone said. No one knew. But Alex knew. His stomach tightened. "She's going to the gate," he whispered. Karen's eyes stayed locked straight ahead. She barely blinked. The world around her blurred, but she didn't care. She felt untouchable, powerful, unstoppable. The HOA rules meant nothing to her now. The warning letter felt like fuel burning inside her. Her anger was driving her more than the car engine. In the distance, the HOA entrance gate stood tall and still, like a giant metal guard watching over the neighborhood. To everyone else, it was just a gate. To Karen, it was a symbol of everything she hated: rules, control, authority. She pressed her foot harder on the gas. The car sped faster. The wind rushed past her windows. "Stupid gate," she muttered. The gate slowly began to open, as it always did when a car approached. But HOA gates weren't designed for rage. They moved gently, slowly, safely. Too slowly for Karen. Her voice rose like a storm cloud. "I'm not waiting for you. Not today." The gate was halfway open. Her car was 10 seconds away. Then 8. Then 5. Then 3. She didn't slow down. She didn't touch the brake. She aimed straight at the opening and the part that wasn't open yet. Across the street from the gate, an elderly couple gasped. "She's going too fast." A teenager pulled out his phone. "This is gonna be crazy." The gate creaked, still opening. Karen screamed, "Move!" And then, cray away awash. The sound tore through the neighborhood like a bomb going off. Metal bent inward. Bolts snapped. Rust and paint chips flew into the air. The gate shook so violently it almost bounced back. Karen's SUV smashed through the middle, pushing the half-open gate off its track. One side folded like a broken wing. The other twisted, scraping the ground with a horrible metal scream. The front of her car slammed upward from the force, then slammed down hard. The hood crumpled like paper. The bumper broke off and skidded across the ground. Dust exploded into the air. Neighbors screamed. A dog barked wildly. The alarm on the gate began to blare, a loud, high-pitched warning that echoed down the entire street. Inside her car, Karen's head jerked forward and then back. The seatbelt caught her just in time. She sat there for a moment, stunned, staring out through a cracked windshield. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking. Her breath came fast, like she had run miles. But the moment she realized she was still alive, her shock turned into something else. Anger. Defiance. Stubborn pride. She opened her door sharply and stepped out, wobbling a little. Her neighbors were staring at her in horror, disbelief, fear, and confusion. What did she just? Is she insane? She destroyed the gate. Someone call the police. Karen didn't care. She lifted her arms dramatically, as if she was the one who had been wronged. "This gate attacked me," she screamed. People blinked. Someone whispered, "What?" Karen pointed at the broken metal pieces lying across the road. "I did nothing wrong. The gate closed on me. It's faulty. This is the HOA's fault." A group of neighbors looked at each other. "The gate was opening," one person said. "Everyone saw you speeding," another added. Karen didn't listen. She kicked a piece of the gate like it had insulted her. Then she shouted again. "I warned them this would happen. They never fix anything." Her voice cracked with rage. She grabbed the broken metal gate with both hands and tried to shake it, as if she could rewrite reality by force. Her hair was messy, her face red, and her body trembling with adrenaline. This gate was dangerous, she screamed again, louder than before. A neighbor quietly whispered, "Dangerous?" She hit it at full speed. Another said, "This is going on the HOA camera. No way she escapes this." Someone across the street already had their phone pointed at her, recording everything. Karen didn't notice. Or maybe she didn't care. The alarm kept blaring. People kept watching. Her car smoked lightly from the front. But Karen stood in the middle of the broken gate like she was a warrior on a battlefield. A warrior who didn't realize she had lost the battle the moment she pressed the gas pedal. And far in the distance, faint but growing louder, sirens began to echo. The police were coming. And Karen's disaster had only just begun. For several seconds after the crash, the neighborhood stayed frozen, as if the entire world was holding its breath. Dust floated in the air. The alarm kept screaming. A thin trail of smoke curled up from the front of Karen's SUV. Every person nearby stared in shock, too stunned to speak. And in the middle of this scene, this strange, broken moment, stood Karen. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her eyes were wide, unfocused, wild. Her hands shook slightly, but not with fear. With anger. A deep, pounding anger. She looked around at the neighbors gathering along the sidewalk and pointed at them dramatically. "Don't just stand there," she shouted. "Someone call the HOA. Tell them their stupid gate almost killed me." A man near the gate spoke softly, "Karen, you drove into it." She spun toward him so fast he stepped back. "No. I did not," she yelled. "The gate closed on me. It malfunctioned." Her voice cracked on the word malfunctioned, stretching it into a shrill cry. Her hair was messy, dust settling on her shoulders. Her shirt had a tear from where the seatbelt rubbed hard during the crash. But she didn't care about any of that. She cared only about proving she was the victim. A few feet away, an older woman whispered, "She's completely lost it." Another neighbor quietly pulled out his phone and started recording. Karen noticed the motion out of the corner of her eye. She marched up to him, anger glowing in her face. "Are you recording me? You're harassing me. Stop it right now." "It's public property," he said calmly. "You just crashed through the HOA gate." Karen stomped her foot like a frustrated child. "You don't understand anything. I'm the only one who listens around here. The only one who cares about safety." A teenager muttered, "By crashing through a gate?" Karen whirled toward the voice, but the kid ducked behind his mom. Karen threw her hands up dramatically. "This whole neighborhood hates me because I stand up for rules." Someone laughed. Not loudly, just a small, surprised laugh. But Karen heard it. She froze. Her eyes narrowed. "Who laughed?" she demanded, her eyes sweeping the crowd. "Who thinks this is funny?" Nobody answered. Most people looked away, uncomfortable. A few stepped back a little. Karen's anger fed on the silence. "You all think I'm crazy, don't you?" she said, her voice trembling. "You think I am the problem?" "No. You are the problem." She pointed at the broken gate again, as if it could defend her words. "This thing almost killed me." The gate lay silent on the ground like a defeated animal. Its metal body twisted, bolts scattered everywhere, motor whining softly as it tried and failed to keep moving. Alex arrived at the scene, walking quickly but carefully. When he saw the damage, he stopped in horror. "Oh my God," he whispered. A neighbor beside him nodded. "She hit the gate like it owed her money." Alex looked at Karen. Her face was red, her breathing harsh, her movements jerky. She looked like someone trapped inside her own anger. Karen noticed Alex and immediately pointed at him. "You," she yelled. "This is your fault." Alex blinked, confused. "Mine? How?" "You were staring at me earlier. Judging me. You made me upset," she screamed. Alex kept his voice calm. "Karen, I didn't do anything. I was just..." "Lies," she shouted. "You all lie." She threw her hands in the air again, her voice breaking. "No one respects me. No one listens. The HOA keeps sending me letters, telling me what to do. I'm sick of it. She stomped toward the gate, grabbed a bent piece of metal, and tried to lift it, but it was too heavy. She struggled, pulling hard, her face turning redder and redder. See? It's broken, she shouted. It was always broken. You broke it, someone yelled from the back. Karen ignored them. She kept pulling at the metal, breathing heavily. Her hair fell in front of her face. She pushed it away angrily, then kicked the gate with her foot. The loud clang echoed down the street. It sounded hollow, desperate. A woman holding her baby shouted, "Karen, stop. You're scaring people." Karen turned toward her, her eyes wild. I'm the one who's scared, she snapped. This neighborhood is a danger to me. That gate could have crushed me. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. She took a shaky breath, then pointed again, this time at the sky. I'm going to sue everyone. The HOA, the gate company, the neighbors, all of you. A murmur spread through the crowd. Even the sympathetic neighbors shook their heads. She's really lost control, a man whispered. She needs help, said another. This is going to the police for sure, someone added. But Karen didn't hear them. Or maybe she refused to hear them. Her world had become a spinning tornado of feelings she couldn't control anymore: anger, fear, embarrassment, pride. She stepped closer to the broken gate and suddenly punched the metal. The sound hurt her knuckles instantly, and she cried out in pain. Instead of stepping back, she blamed the pain on the gate. This thing is dangerous, she shrieked. I told them every day. Alex held up both hands, trying to calm her. Karen, stop. The police are probably on their way. Just breathe, okay? She turned to him slowly, her expression empty for a moment, like she didn't recognize him at all. Then her face twisted into pure rage. You called the police, didn't you? She growled. Alex shook his head quickly. No, Karen. I didn't call anyone. Yes, you did, she screamed. You want to see me arrested. You all want to see me humiliated. She pointed wildly at the people around her. You just stand there. Judging me. Watching me like animals. A man tried to speak gently. Karen, we're just worried. You crashed your car. I did not crash, she shouted. The gate moved. It jumped at me. People exchanged confused looks. The gate jumped, someone whispered. Karen didn't stop. Her meltdown grew bigger, louder, messier. She paced in circles, waving her arms. This community is toxic. The HOA is corrupt. They're trying to break me. I won't let them win. Her voice grew hoarse, but she kept yelling. Some neighbors stepped back even more, scared of her unpredictable movements. A mother grabbed her child's hand and moved farther away. An elderly man shook his head sadly. Alex felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. Karen wasn't just angry anymore. She was spiraling, losing control of everything inside her. And then, from far away, a familiar sound cut through Karen's shouting. Sirens. Loud. Sharp. Getting closer. Karen froze. Her eyes went wide. She turned toward the sound like someone hearing a nightmare come to life. No, she whispered. No. Not the police. They can't be coming for me. But the sirens grew louder. Neighbors stepped aside, creating a path instinctively. 2 police cars turned the corner, lights flashing red and blue across the houses. The crackled voice of a police radio echoed faintly. Karen's face drained of color. She shook her head slowly, backing up. No, no, no. I didn't do anything wrong. The cars stopped near the broken gate. Officers stepped out, calm but serious. Karen stared at them in horror. Her meltdown reached its peak. You can't arrest me, she screamed. I'm the victim. But the officers were already walking toward her. And the neighborhood watched silently. Because this chaotic meltdown, was about to end in a way Karen never expected. And there was no turning back. The flashing red and blue lights painted the neighborhood in strange, shifting colors, like a warning signal the sky itself was trying to send. The sirens faded, but the heavy silence that followed felt louder than the sound itself. 2 police cars stopped near the destroyed HOA gate. The officers stepped out slowly, their boots crunching against broken metal pieces scattered across the road. They didn't rush. They didn't shout. They moved with the calm confidence of people who had seen chaos before, just not this exact kind. Karen stood in the middle of the wrecked gate, her chest rising and falling like she had run a marathon. Her eyes were wide, almost shining with a mixture of fear, shock, and anger. She took a small step back from the officers as if they were dangerous animals approaching. The first officer, a tall man with a calm face, raised a hand gently. "Ma'am," he said firmly but politely, "please step away from the broken gate." Karen shook her head so fast her hair flew around her face. "No," she shouted. "You don't understand. This gate attacked me." The second officer, a woman with a steady voice, glanced at the twisted metal and the smashed SUV. "Ma'am, gates do not attack people." Karen jabbed her finger at the gate like she was accusing it of murder. "This one did." Some neighbors covered their mouths to hide their laughter. Others gasped. A few whispered, "Here we go," as if they had seen enough of Karen's behavior to predict this exact moment. Alex stood near his driveway, watching with heavy worry in his chest. He felt no joy in seeing Karen cornered like this. She looked unstable, frightened, unpredictable. And the officers looked ready for anything. The tall officer stepped forward again. "Ma'am, we received multiple calls about a vehicle collision involving HOA property. We need to speak with you about what happened." Karen waved her hands wildly. "I didn't collide with anything. The gate malfunctioned. I could have died." The female officer pointed toward Karen's SUV. "Your car has front-end damage, ma'am. The gate appears to be ripped off its track." Karen's voice cracked. "That's because it closed on me." A man in the crowd shouted, "It was opening. We all saw it." Karen spun around. "Stop lying." The tall officer raised his voice slightly, not angry, but firm. "Ma'am, please stay calm." But calm was the last thing Karen was capable of. "I am calm," she yelled, shaking from head to toe. "I am the calmest person here." She walked in circles, waving her arms, breathing loudly, muttering to herself. Alex whispered to a neighbor, "This is getting worse." Karen suddenly turned back toward the officers. "Do you know what they've done to me?" she demanded. "This neighborhood bullies me every day. The HOA hates me. They send me letters, they watch me, they judge me. And now this gate tries to kill me. And you show up to blame me?" The female officer took one slow breath, then asked, "Ma'am, have you had anything to drink today?" Karen gasped dramatically, one hand flying to her chest. "How dare you," she screamed. "I don't drink. You people always accuse innocent women." The tall officer tried another approach. "Ma'am, please provide your driver's license and registration." Karen froze. She didn't move. She didn't blink. She just stared at the officer like he had asked for her soul. "My what?" she whispered, shocked. "Your license and registration," he repeated. Karen took a step back. "I don't have to give you anything. I know my rights." The officer shook his head calmly. "Ma'am, you do. You were involved in a collision with property, and we need your ID." Karen's breathing sped up again. "No. You want to trap me. Arrest me. Embarrass me." A child whispered to his mom, "Why is she acting like this?" The mom hugged him close. Some adults don't know how to handle their anger. Karen suddenly pointed at Alex again. "He called you. Arrest him. He hates me." Alex held up his hands helplessly. "Karen, I didn't call anyone. Nobody is against you." Karen screamed louder. Yes, you are. All of you. The tall officer gestured for her to step aside from the wreckage. Ma'am, let's move to the sidewalk and talk calmly. No, Karen snapped. I'm not leaving until you fix this gate. It cannot be fixed right now, the officer replied. Karen stomped her foot so hard it echoed. Yes, it can. Fix it right now. Her voice was trembling hard now, not just with anger, but with rising panic. Her meltdown had pushed her into a corner she didn't know how to escape. The female officer spoke softly. Ma'am, are you feeling dizzy or confused? Karen screamed at the top of her lungs. I'm feeling threatened. The officers exchanged a look. A serious look. A look that said, she's unstable. We need to control the situation before someone gets hurt. The tall officer took one careful step toward her. Ma'am, please put your hands where we can see them. Karen's mouth dropped open. She backed up again, bumping into the broken gate. No. I'm not doing anything. I'm innocent. We understand, the officer said calmly, but we need to make sure everyone stays safe. You're treating me like a criminal, she shouted. We're treating you like someone who needs help right now, said the female officer. Karen's voice softened suddenly, too suddenly. I just wanted people to listen to me, she whispered. The neighbors fell silent. Even the officers paused. For a moment, just one small moment, Karen looked almost fragile. Broken metal behind her, broken car beside her, broken pride inside her. Alex felt a strange sadness in his chest. But the moment didn't last. Karen's expression twisted again, anger flooding back like a wave. No, she snapped. You won't make me look weak. I'm not stepping aside. The tall officer sighed quietly. Ma'am, if you don't comply, we will have to. Karen didn't let him finish. She slapped his hand away. Hard. The crowd gasped. Karen froze in shock at her own action. The officers moved instantly. Ma'am, place your hands behind your back, the tall officer said, his tone changing to firm command. No! Don't touch me, she screamed, stepping back. The female officer reached for her arm carefully. Karen jerked away, shouting, Let go of me! But the officers stayed gentle, guiding her arms behind her. Karen kicked at the ground, voice rising into a shrill, panicked cry. Stop! Stop! I didn't do anything. You're all against me. Her voice cracked again as the handcuffs clicked shut. The crowd stood silent, shocked, sad, relieved, unsure. Karen's chest heaved. Tears mixed with anger on her face. Her voice broke into a desperate scream. I'm the victim. Not the criminal. But nobody stepped forward. Nobody agreed. Nobody defended her. The police guided her toward the car. Karen's meltdown had reached its breaking point. And the next part of the story, the truth, the fallout, the consequences, was about to unfold. Because in the HOA office, a camera had captured everything. The neighborhood had fallen into a strange kind of silence, one so heavy it felt like the air itself had stopped moving. The only sound left was the rattling of Karen's panicked breathing as the officers guided her toward the police car. Her wrists were cuffed, but she kept twisting and pulling as if she could break free by sheer will. This is illegal. You can't do this. Karen yelled, her voice echoing off the nearby homes. The tall officer stayed calm. Ma'am, please stop resisting. I'm not resisting, she screamed while, still resisting. Every neighbor watched from their driveways. Some recorded. Some whispered. Some looked away because they couldn't decide if they felt sorry for her or scared of what she might do next. Alex stood near the sidewalk, heart heavy. He didn't like seeing anyone humiliated like this. But he also knew nobody had forced Karen into any of this. She had marched straight into disaster, full speed, without brakes. The female officer opened the back door of the police car. Ma'am, please sit down. Karen froze like a stubborn child refusing bedtime. No. I'm not getting in that car, she said firmly. The tall officer sighed softly. Ma'am, you don't have a choice. Karen's face twisted anger, panic, fear, all mixing until she didn't seem like the same person anymore. She looked up at the sky as if she expected it to save her. Then she looked at the people recording. You're all going to regret this, she shouted. I'm innocent. The HOA is corrupt. Her voice cracked on the word corrupt, making it sound less like a threat and more like a desperate cry for attention. The female officer gently placed a hand on Karen's arm. Ma'am, we need you to sit in the car now. Karen's breathing sped up again. If I get in that car, they win, she whispered, trembling. Who wins? The officer asked softly. Karen's eyes darted around sharply. Them. The neighbors. The HOA. The world. Everyone who wants me to fail. Alex felt a strange ache in his chest. For the first time, he saw the truth. Karen wasn't evil. Karen wasn't trying to destroy anything. Karen was lost inside her own battles she thought everyone else was fighting against her. But the damage was already done. The tall officer moved closer. Ma'am, we're not your enemies. Karen shook her head. You say that while putting me in handcuffs. You're in handcuffs, the officer said gently, because you refuse to listen. Karen closed her eyes, and for a moment she just stood there, silent, breathing shakily, almost broken. Then her eyes snapped open again, filled with fire. I'm not going anywhere, she screamed suddenly. In one wild burst of energy, she tried to pull away and run. The entire neighborhood gasped at once. But her feet barely moved before both officers reacted with perfect control. They held her arms firmly, not hurting her, just stopping her. Ma'am, stop, the tall officer ordered. Let me go. She kicked at the ground, twisting like she was fighting invisible ropes. Ma'am, calm down, the female officer pleaded. But Karen was beyond calming. Her fear had taken over everything. She wasn't thinking. She wasn't listening. She was trapped inside her own panic, and the officers were the closest targets. You're kidnapping me, she shrieked. This is a setup. A trap. A woman in the crowd whispered, this is heartbreaking. Another whispered back, this is terrifying. Finally, after several long, stressful moments, the officers managed to guide Karen into the back of the car. Her knees bent unwillingly, her movements jerky and emotional. Once inside, she screamed through the open door. You're making a mistake. I'll sue all of you. You can't do this to me. But her voice was losing strength now, half anger, half exhaustion. The tall officer leaned into the car slightly. Ma'am, you're being detained for property damage, resisting instructions, and unsafe driving. You have the right to remain silent. I will not be silent, she yelled, proving the opposite instantly. Alex watched the scene with a sinking feeling. Even though she had caused chaos, he couldn't help feeling a bit sorry. Something inside Karen had cracked long before today. The officer closed the door softly. The muffled screams continued from inside the car, but the metal and glass reduced them to faint, shaky sounds. Neighbors slowly lowered their phones. The excitement faded. Real concern settled in. A little girl tugged at her father's sleeve. Daddy, is the lady going to jail forever? Her father gently stroked her hair. No, sweetie. She'll just talk to people who can help her. Karen's SUV sat crooked on the road, front bumper hanging, steam rising from the ruined engine. The HOA gate lay broken on the ground like a fallen soldier. The entire street looked like the aftermath of a storm. Alex turned to the tall officer. Is she okay? The officer nodded. She will be. She's overwhelmed. Things like this happen when someone refuses help for too long. The female officer added, we're taking her for evaluation too. Not just arrest. She needs someone to talk to. Alex swallowed. I hope she gets that. Lights flickered across Karen's face inside the car. She stared at Alex through the window, eyes wild, confused, and full of something he couldn't name. Fear? Blame? Sadness? All three? Then she mouthed something silently. You did this. Alex felt his stomach drop. Before he could react, the officers entered their cars. Engines started. Radios crackled. The first car pulled out, and Karen's car followed behind, her face disappearing as the vehicle turned the corner. The moment she was gone, the entire neighborhood exhaled at once, like they had all been holding their breath. People slowly returned to their homes, murmuring and shaking their heads. But Alex stayed behind. He stared at the broken gate. The twisted metal reflected the sunlight like a painful reminder. I didn't do anything, he whispered to himself. But he also knew. Karen would not believe that. Not now. Maybe not ever. And the truth of what really happened, the truth the world would soon see, was waiting inside a small security room, inside a quiet HOA building, inside a camera system that had captured every moment of the crash. The next chapter wasn't just about Karen's arrest. It was about the truth finally coming to light. The neighborhood was quiet again. The chaos of the afternoon had faded like a storm leaving behind broken branches and wet streets. But something heavier lingered in the air, a sense of unfinished business, of truths waiting to be revealed. Inside the HOA office, a security monitor flickered, showing the footage from multiple cameras. Every camera, every angle, every motion had been recorded. From the moment Karen stepped into her car that morning, to the explosion of rage at the mailbox, to the catastrophic crash through the gate, all of it was there. The HOA manager, a calm middle-aged woman named Lisa, leaned back in her chair. Her eyes scanned the screen. She exhaled slowly. This is worse than I thought, she muttered to herself. Beside her, the assistant shook his head. It's clear what happened. She didn't wait. She didn't slow down. The gate was opening perfectly. She drove into it on purpose. Lisa nodded. We'll need to submit this to the police. It's undeniable. The neighbors saw part of it, but this is full proof. Meanwhile, at the police station, Karen sat in a small holding room. Her hair was messy, her face flushed, and her hands still trembled slightly. She stared at the wall in silence. For the first time since the crash, she wasn't yelling. She wasn't blaming anyone. She wasn't angry. She was exhausted. Her mind replayed the entire day in a loop, the HOA letter, the bushes, the neighbor's eyes, the gate. And suddenly, a small, uncomfortable thought crept in, maybe it was her fault. She pushed it away immediately. No. Impossible. They had attacked her first. The letter had started it all. The world had conspired against her. She had been forced to act. The officers returned from reviewing the security footage. One placed a folder on the table in front of her. Karen stared at it nervously. Ma'am, the officer said gently, we reviewed the security footage. It shows exactly what happened. You did not wait for the gate to open. You drove through it. You caused the damage. Karen's eyes widened. That's not possible. It's not real. The officer nodded. It is. There is no question. We have multiple angles. You can see yourself clearly accelerating toward the gate. The gate was functioning normally. The crash was 100% your responsibility. Karen's hands went to her face. She felt a wave of shock, then disbelief, then shame. It was overwhelming. For the first time, the anger that had fueled her all day had no place to go. In the neighborhood, Alex was talking quietly to a neighbor. I never wanted this to happen, he said. I just wanted her to follow the rules. The neighbor nodded. We all know that. But seeing the footage, it's clear. She caused the crash herself. The news traveled quickly. By evening, many neighbors had seen the footage. Phones, tablets, and laptops displayed the crash from multiple angles. The gate bending, the SUV slamming through, Karen screaming and arguing, it was all there. Some people shook their heads. Some laughed nervously. A few sympathized, remembering her previous struggles. But one thing was clear, no one could deny the truth. The HOA called a neighborhood meeting. Lisa played the video in the community hall. Everyone watched silently as the footage unfolded. Karen's actions, her choices, her refusal to wait, her meltdown, it was all undeniable. When the video ended, there was silence. Finally, a neighbor spoke. "It's clear now. She caused all of this. There's no question." Karen sat in the back of the room, shoulders slumped. Her face was pale. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She simply sat, absorbing the truth. For the first time in years, Karen faced reality. Alex spoke softly. "Karen, none of us wanted this. You got angry, and things went too far. But now everyone sees exactly what happened. Maybe you can start over." Karen's lips trembled. She wanted to argue. She wanted to blame the gate, the HOA, the neighbors. But the evidence was too clear. She couldn't. I guess, it's my fault," she whispered. The words were small, almost inaudible, but they carried a weight she had never felt before. The HOA decided to repair the gate immediately and file the necessary claims for the damage. Karen was issued a fine for property damage and unsafe driving. The police gave her a warning but also suggested counseling for anger management. Over the next few days, the neighborhood slowly returned to normal. Children played again, mailboxes were checked, and the HOA gate stood tall, repaired and functional. But Karen's crash became part of local legend, a dramatic story everyone talked about but no one wanted to repeat. Karen herself began attending counseling sessions, though reluctantly at first. Slowly, she learned to control her anger, to pause before acting, to think before driving through gates or accusing neighbors. Alex noticed a small change the next time he saw her outside. She nodded politely as he walked past. No yelling, no pointing, no wild eyes. Just a simple, quiet nod. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't immediate forgiveness. But it was a start. And in that moment, Alex realized something important: even chaos could have an ending. Even someone as volatile as Karen could face the truth and survive it. The HOA gate remained standing, the neighborhood slowly healed, and Karen's story became a cautionary tale. A tale about anger, about choices, about consequences. A tale about a day when a simple HOA notice led to chaos, and when the truth finally came out, everyone learned something they wouldn't forget. The neighborhood was calm again. But now, everyone knew one thing clearly: no matter how furious you feel, the truth always finds a way to show itself. And Karen, well, she would never forget it either.